Yeah, why are 70% vaccinations so important here on Restaurants of Hawaii? And we have Sheryl Matsuoka. She runs the Restaurants of Hawaii, the Restaurant Association, and Chivon Garcia. She works with her together, you guys. And special guests, Brooks Baehr of the Department of Health, and Patrick Bullard, a PR professional. Oh, wow. We're going to have a discussion about events and encouragements and ways to get up to 70% or more. Let's go for 100.
Yes.
Sheryl, why don't you start the show by introducing these guys proper, and by giving us an idea of the scope of the conversation we want to have with them.
Of course. Thank you again, Jay, for having Hawaii Restaurant Association on Restaurants of Hawaii on ThinkTech Hawaii. Today, of course, June 29th, 2021, tomorrow is the last day for our HiGotVaccinated.com campaign. And as you know, Jay, there's wonderful prizes and incentives for people. And we're encouraging everyone, as long as you've had one dose, to jump on and register for those trips, Jay, hotel rooms, there's gift certificates, $1,000, there's all kinds of prizes. But more importantly, be sure to take that second dose, of course. So today we have two guests. I would love to introduce Chivon Garcia, Hawaii Restaurant Association's Executive Assistant. Chivon, could you please introduce our two guests?
Sure. Thanks for having me. I wanted to introduce Brooks Baehr. He's the COVID-19 and Pandemic Response Administrative Assistant for the Hawaii Department of Health. We also have Patrick Bullard. He's the Managing Director of Heinrich and Bullard Marketing.
Thank you, Chivon. Now, the main reason we're here today, Jay, is to discuss, to get our state back to normal lifestyle, we really need full population immunity against COVID as soon as possible. With Hawaii on track to reach our 60% vaccination rate soon, our next step will be to get our state to 70%, which is what Governor Ige has stated. Once we achieve that 70% vaccination rate, all travel restrictions will be lifted and the Safe Travels program will end. So restrictions on indoor businesses, such as wearing masks in restaurants, will be dropped. And there are so many, right now there's so many vaccination sites available. It's in all the different communities. And so there really is no reason why someone can't get to a vaccination site. One of the most frequently asked questions, and we're going to cover some of these later, Jay, is do I need medical insurance to get my vaccine, my dosage? And the answer is no, you don't need a medical program, which is so important because a lot of people feel like if they don't have medical coverage, they don't want to go to the vaccination site. So the truth is you don't need medical coverage. You just need to show up. And I'd like to turn it over to Brooks, who's going to talk a little bit more about the Department of Health and what they're doing and the current stats. And then Patrick, who's going to talk about the prizes, Jay. And I hope you signed up because there's some air trips, there's restaurant gift cards, there's a lot of incentives for you to join the HiGotVaccinated campaign. Brooks?
Yeah, but just a footnote on that. I'm already vaccinated, Patrick. Can I get a prize? Can I get $1,000 even I've been vaccinated?
Well, absolutely. All you have to do is enter. You can go to the HiGotVaccinated.com site and put your name in there and you'd be eligible to win. We go through a pretty significant verification process to ensure that everybody that's entered actually is vaccinated. So we want to make sure that you check out the rules on the website, make sure you comply with all the rules. You're not a relative of me or somebody else executing the contest. And then we actually utilize Acuity LLP. They're an independent accounting firm that helps us select the winners so that we're completely out of the loop on that. And they give us the means to select a winner, which their name is matched to a number in a computer system. And then we contact the winner to award the prize. So you could be that guy, Jay, if you're entered.
I'm going to be rich. I'm telling you now. I need to be rich. But let me, do you ever say to people, in addition to the $1,000 and all the benefits we, the state, provide you, this actually helps you stay alive? At this you get all this stuff, but also you get to stay alive. Also, you get your family to stay alive. Which one's more important? What's it worth? Do you ever tell them that? Because that should be the most persuasive thing of all.
Jay, you're absolutely right, and thanks for bringing that up, because the incentive that this I Got Vaccinated campaign, and particularly the incentive component of the I Got Vaccinated campaign, is something that didn't begin until we were more than 6 months into this vaccination effort, or about 6 months into the effort. Up until that point, we've really been relying on people's will to protect themselves, protect their neighbors, their families, their coworkers, their loved ones, and actually beyond that, the entire state of Hawaii. And because this virus is a global virus, we're really protecting the whole world when we get vaccinated. So absolutely, that is the number one reason people really should get vaccinated. But look, we know there are reasons that there are a lot of reasons why people haven't been vaccinated. Cheryl touched on one of them. Some people think they're going to get hit with a big bill. No, the vaccines are absolutely free. In fact, even if you don't have insurance, you can get yourself vaccinated. There are all these hurdles and questions that people have. And early on, we were able to vaccinate large amounts of people very quickly. But now that they've been vaccinated, people like you, Jay, who are eager to be vaccinated, we're working with other populations, people who have questions. They cost questions, and maybe they've been busy. Maybe they're waiting for full FDA approval instead of that emergency use authorization. Maybe they don't have transportation to a vaccination site, or they have language problems. And these are all things that we're wrestling with here at the Department of Health to try to provide them with transportation if they've got transportation challenges, or to put the vaccine in their neighborhood to make it easily accessible, or to bridge that language gap that they may have by coming up with translations and brochures and videos in multiple languages. We've got those kind of things available in up to 20 languages. So it has gotten more difficult to get people vaccinated and to get the good quality science and the credible information to people, because there's so much malarkey floating around, in certain circles that sometimes we have to counterbalance that just with getting credible, good science out there. But that's not always going to be enough. There are multiple reasons why people haven't been vaccinated, and some of them just need that little extra push. And that's where Pat comes in with this incentive campaign with the I Got Vaccinated effort.
One thing is implicit in what you said, and what I've seen in the paper, the national papers, is that we are at a point where it's harder to get the next person to take a vaccination. It's like we're hitting Trump's base or something. We're hitting the hardcore now. And so you have to work harder for each single person you want to vaccinate. You have to provide greater incentive, greater outreach for each single one. It's really extraordinary that we're at this point. And he's not going to make nationally. He's not going to make his 70% by July 4th. I'm sorry to say. And he's going to have to work harder getting it done, and it's going to be harder getting it done. So you guys are really sort of in the same place. Although I would hope that we don't have that kind of hardcore base here that resists, your efforts, going forward. We should be more progressive here, more Akamai here. We should be. Are we? Or is it a parallel to the mainland?
No, we actually are. We've done several surveys and polls, and we found that in the neighborhood of 10% of our population has just decided they're not going to get vaccinated. And we may never be able to convince them to be vaccinated. So what we really want to do is focus on the people who have said, yeah, I'm receptive to it, or yes, I'm going to get vaccinated. I'm just going to do it on my schedule when the time is right, maybe when we answer their final questions. So for the Department of Health, the I Got Vaccinated campaign has really been about outreach, education, and access. Outreach to communities, populations, geographic areas where they really haven't had that easy access to the vaccines, bridging those language gaps, those kind of things, making sure that the vaccine is available just about around every single corner, which it is now. Hey, go to your local pharmacy. You can get a free shot today. And so we're ahead of the rest of the nation. But again, that little extra push could come from people who are looking for incentives, and that's out there right now on highgotvaccinated.com. And there's actually some exciting news about the future of that campaign.
Well, let's have it.
That's right.
Well, drum roll, please. Well, just a couple of things that we will be announcing later today in a press conference that Brooks and the Department of Health have monitored our campaign. And we actually have seen that the highgotvaccinated.com campaign has worked to move the dial. Brooks can elaborate, but it's working. Some people have different buttons you got to push for various reasons. And some of us are just on Hawaiian time no matter what's happening. So, we created the campaign with the intent to get as many people excited about getting vaccinated. And we've seen that it's worked. So tomorrow, June 30th, at midnight, the stroke of midnight, we will turn into pumpkins, and the first round of the highgotvaccinated.com site contest will be done. We'll be putting a fork in it, and on Thursday, July 1st, we're going to pick 83 winners to win the balance of the prizes that we have left, which includes Marriott Bonvoy points, a Hawaiian Airlines 100,000 miles. We've got Southwest, American, Alaska Airlines. We've got a car lease, some great restaurant prizes to give away. So we've kind of reached out to a lot of different businesses, and businesses in turn reached out to us to say, what can I do to help?
That's a great idea, because it's in their interest. It's in their interest to see this happen.
Absolutely. The businesses, particularly some of the travel industry businesses, the restaurant businesses that are greatly affected by the current numbers that we have to achieve, first to get us to 60% and then to give us to 70%, we're all a part of that equation. So, sitting on the fence and, if people have health issues and have concerns, God bless them, we respect that. But for people who absolutely could get vaccinated, let's go get it done. So we're going to award 83 prizes by July 14th. We'll announce all the winners for that, but we're not done. Today, we're going to announce round 2 of the contest. The sequel, if you will, is going to happen beginning on July 12th. And we're going to reload the cache of prizes. This time, the prizes are going to get even more fun for some people. We're going to push different buttons, and we've got cash. So we're going to be making an announcement today. I can't spill the beans just yet, but we will be announcing that we've got some fabulous cash prizes and more to come. And we are looking for more businesses, and in this case, restaurants that want to support us to support you. So you can get on board, go to the website, contact Sheryl, and just say, hey, how could I help? We know that the more incentives we provide to people, the more people are going to participate and do what we want them to do. So
that's the reality. So Sheryl, how involved is the Restaurant Association in this? What does it mean to the Restaurant Association from a, say a business interest point of view? And how is the Restaurant Association participating?
The Restaurant Association is participating 110%. I mean, we have been communicating this from prior to even the program launching, right, Brooks, and trying to get all the restaurants campaigning around this initiative, because as we know, when we get to that 70%, the masks indoors will come off. We have more freedom to get back to the way it was. We get to resume our lives back again, Jay, and that means a lot to these restaurateurs. We're even hoping that we can lift the 6-foot distancing, which, as you know, is still enforced right now. But the restaurants are all trying their best, communicating with their employees, encouraging. A lot of the employees are vaccinated. And like you said, there may be a few that are holding out. And as you said, when you go to restaurants, they still are taking your temperatures and contact tracing. Restaurants are doing everything they can to protect all of them.
Are they telling their employees they got to get vaccinated or can't work there?
That is something where, as you know, with unemployment, and it's hard now. Right now, we have, as you know, very, very, it's difficult to get employees, and it's been the challenge. So I do know of a few restaurants that have really been every meeting with all of their workers, they're sitting them down and saying, please get vaccinated. This is just going to help you and your family, you and your loved ones. And, we just need to get to that 70%.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the truth. If I saw Department of Health has ratings, a little green window, a sign in the window, and that encourages me to go into a given restaurant. If I saw the restaurant had a sign in the window, said all our people are vaccinated, that would encourage me. I mean, put it another way, if I didn't see that sign, I would not be nearly as encouraged. But Brooks, let's talk about the magic of 70%. What I get from what Patrick was saying is that if we reach, as and when we really should reach 70% easily, then the governor will reduce the restrictions.
Yes.
That's fiat. That's not necessarily a health fact. That's call it a governor fact. So my question to you is, what exactly, from the point of view of the health of the state, does 70% mean? I guess I'm talking about herd immunity or some such concept like that.
Sure. Great question. And a lot of people are asking if 70% is attainable and what is herd immunity. And I think the important thing to know is that there is no magic number for herd immunity. The smartest scientists we have here at the Department of Health, and there are some brilliant people here, they can't tell you exactly what herd immunity is because it's a moving target. We get these variants come in and they're more transmissible than the original COVID, the native COVID. And because they're more transmissible, that changes the equation. What exactly is herd immunity? What variants might arrive, tomorrow or next week? And so we've got to keep our eye on the variants. We've got to keep monitoring them. We've got to keep the transmission rates low, the new case counts low. And we do that by getting vaccinated is our very best tool, and by wearing masks and distancing, and the things that we've been so good at for a while. But there's no magic number for herd immunity. In fact, we don't determine what herd immunity is. The virus determines what herd immunity is. We're going to know we get there when we see those case counts just plummet and disappear. And look, they're down. Hawaii has done a tremendous job, better than almost any state in the nation at getting vaccinated. And we've been terrific with the masks and respecting one another and showing aloha. We're approaching 60%. Today, we're at 57.8% of Hawaii's entire population that is fully vaccinated. And more than 62% of the state's population has initiated the vaccination process. So within the next couple of weeks, we expect that those who have initiated the process will finish their vaccinations, and we're going to reach 60%. But boy, it's getting tough to move quickly towards 70%, and it's going to take a couple months at least. But look, take advantage of the offers that Pat's given you. If you've been looking for a reason, you've got until midnight, Wednesday the 30th, to get yourself at least one shot is all you need. Then you're eligible to go to highgotvaccinated.com. Then you can register for those prizes. You might win a fabulous prize, and then you'll be automatically in the drawing that comes up in July and August. And you know what? You could be saving your own life or someone's life that you love. And that is way more important.
That's a good reason. That's always actually the best reason to save your own life or your family's life. So let's talk about something you mentioned, and that is, being mindful of Delta and other variants that could very easily pop up. I mean, we have states with, which are shamelessly low in terms of the vaccination level. It's really frightening. It's scary how people, in those states don't want to take a vaccination at all. And in those states, you have more cases. And when you have more cases, you have the greater possibility, not necessarily limited to Delta variant, but any variant, a new variant, a brand new, even more infectious and lethal variant. Okay, and these people under the Commerce Clause, they can come to the state of Hawaii, which has done a good job with its own population so far, but which is a tourist destination. And my question to you is, how do we prevent those people from getting here and spreading around Delta and other variants, which we may or may not be vaccinated against?
Well, it's really difficult because here's what can happen, even under the Safe Travels program, which, as you know, it is perhaps the best program in the nation, a very conservative program aimed at saving lives and protecting us in Hawaii. And it has worked tremendously well. That's one of the reasons that we have such low death rates here in Hawaii, is the approach that Governor Ige took and putting a premium on our lives. And at the Department of Health, we really appreciate that. But you're right. Someone can, for example, let's say they're traveling to Hawaii on a Sunday. They take a COVID test on the mainland on Friday, because they have to be tested negative within 72 hours of boarding their final flight to Hawaii. So they test Friday, they're negative. Well, then they go out to dinner Saturday with someone who's positive with COVID, and they are infected with COVID, and maybe with one of these variants. And then Sunday they board a plane armed with their negative COVID vaccine test result. They are perfectly, they are perfectly within their right, within the rules to come to Hawaii. Unfortunately, unbeknownst to them, they have just been infected. They come to Hawaii, they're here for a couple of days, and then they start experiencing symptoms. They go get tested. Lo and behold, they're positive. Who knows how many people they came in touch with before they knew they were positive and before they go into isolation. And look, I don't want to just put this on the tourists. We've seen a lot of cases of residents who have traveled and come back, and they run into this exact same situation.
Yeah, same thing, sure.
Yeah. So, but Jay, you said something that's really important, that in places where the vaccination rate is really low, there is more opportunity for these mutations to develop, because there can be no mutation without replication. So as the virus is replicated, there's more opportunity for a mutant to happen. These mutants.
So what was that? There can be more replication. What was it now?
Well,
say it again, because I want to put it on the final exam.
Yeah, I appreciate it. There really, there can be no mutations without the virus replicating itself. In other words, if I don't pass it to you and you don't give it to Pat, the virus has not had a chance to mutate or become a variant. And so this gets back to that global aspect of this virus. The latest, the Delta variant, originated, we believe, in India. Well, the vaccination rate there was very low and infection was running rampant. So, and here we are in Hawaii, halfway across the world. What's in our, what do we care what happens in India? Well, we should not only care and have compassion for the people of India, but to protect ourselves, we should hope that they can get vaccinated at a high rate too, because the mutation that develops there becomes a variant here.
Yeah, sure. So my question to you then, assume that we, that is the world, cannot control these variants. Let's assume, just for this discussion, I hope they can, but maybe not. Isn't the solution then to get everyone, everyone who doesn't have a medical reason, vaccinated right away? If not 100%, then 99.9. If we do that, then, and I'm thinking of Hawaii for a moment, then Hawaii is pretty much safe. It means that, anyone coming or going, for that matter, is going to be vaccinated and protected, and is not going to have the disease, at least assuming the vaccination works against all the variants, which is not entirely clear right now. But and then you add to that the notion of a passport, a vaccination passport, and you've got it licked, right? Now, I don't know if that's in the plan, but it seemed to me that, if this gets worse, and it may, that's what we got to do. We're on the way. And the contest, Patrick, is useful to get up to a greater number of vaccinations. But if it gets to be, an ongoing concern, then the answer logically is to require people to have vaccinations, require them to carry proof of vaccination. Isn't that, the ultimate solution?
Jay, you talk about the variant coming here from some of those states that don't have high vaccination rates. It can absolutely happen. How can we protect ourselves? We can get vaccinated. I'm
Right.
vaccinated. If I come in contact with someone who's got a variant or any brand of COVID, I am certainly not as concerned as if I had not been vaccinated. And you know what else? I've been vaccinated, so if I'm exposed to someone, I don't even have to go into 10-day mandatory quarantine. So there are tremendous advantages to being vaccinated. Once the FDA grants full approval of the vaccines, and both Pfizer and Moderna have asked for that full approval, and we expect the FDA will grant it at some point, then the discussion will begin on mandatory vaccinations. As you know, the University of Hawaii and other institutions have already said that to attend classes on campus at the University of Hawaii, you will have to be vaccinated once the FDA gives full approval to the vaccines, as opposed to just this emergency use authorization. So it is something that may be coming down the pike. We're not there yet because we don't have that full approval yet. But for example, the military, will they require, full vaccination? It's an interesting question.
It's coming. I think it will happen. I mean, if you're talking about national readiness, national security, you really can't afford to have any holes in the boat. So Patrick, how do we achieve that ultimately vis-a-vis the people who are difficult to convince? The point, this is really a takeaway point that Brooks mentioned. If we are all vaccinated in the state of Hawaii, we really don't have to worry so much about the replication, the variants coming in from other states where they haven't taken care of their people. How do we achieve that on a voluntary basis? Or do you think we're going to have to address the hardcore people in ways beyond a contest?
An interesting thing, and Brooks can verify this, but some figures that I heard, which I believe are current, is that everybody that's currently in a hospital right now in the state of Hawaii and perhaps in other states are people that have not been vaccinated. So to me, that says, it speaks volumes. If you don't want to end up in the hospital or have a family member end up in the hospital, then, this is almost intervention time, for folks who may be a little stubborn or, have other reasons why they aren't getting out to get vaccinated. For God's sake, somebody rattle you and say, I love you and I want you to be well and I want you to stay with me and let's go get vaccinated. If that doesn't work, we're going to give you some cash. But in the meantime, we want everybody that can get vaccinated to go ahead and do it for the sake of our whole community.
Well, what Brooks has said suggests another argument you could put on them, and that is this. We have relatively good numbers. If you look at the national chart state by state, we have good numbers. And it's serendipitously wonderful that we have this. It's a credit to the Department of Health. It's a credit to, the aloha spirit and all that in Hawaii, where people think of the community and contributing to the community by, following rules that benefit the community and so forth. But one other argument you could make in the face of, the risk of having variants come in from other less noble states is to say, we may not be able to hold on to our lead unless you do this. If you do this, then we will continue in our low numbers. If you don't do this, there's a risk that these variants will sneak in somehow and put us all at risk. So you're protecting the whole state. It's very clear that you're protecting the whole state, and we have something to protect. What do you think, Brooks? Is that a worthy argument?
Yes, and I think here's another one. Kids will be going back to the classroom this fall, right? And we know that those 11 and younger are not yet eligible to be vaccinated. So how do we best protect them? Well, we man up, we woman up, we buck up, but we go get vaccinated. That's going to protect them. How? Because it's going to keep it's going to increase and get us closer to herd immunity. So if I'm vaccinated, I can't transmit it to a child or anyone else. And then while children don't get as sick when they get COVID, they can certainly get sick and they can carry the virus without even knowing they have it because they're asymptomatic, and they can infect a loved one who is older and more vulnerable. So it really incumbent upon all of us to be good neighbors, to show the aloha, and to get ourselves vaccinated. Look, whether it's the fact that we're going to be opening up a pop-up clinic at a mall or a beach park or a community center near you or at a school near you, if that does it, great. If you get vaccinated because you want to cash in on miles, on travel, on a shopping spree with the HiGotVaccinated.com campaign, that's great. Please know the vaccines are free. They're tremendously effective. They're very safe. More than 2.5 billion shots have been administered worldwide. Some people said they're going to wait and see how they work. The proof is in. They are amazing. They are lifesavers. And frankly, I want to get on with life. I want to get back to seeing friends and getting together and go to a concert. And I can't wait to get to some of Hawaii's terrific restaurants. You know, I've been doing a lot of takeout, and I want to sit down right next to somebody, shoulder to shoulder, without my mask, knowing that I'm safe. And the best way we can do that is to get vaccinated.
Well, as I said at the inception of the show, I don't see a reason really why you guys with your programs and your efforts at reaching people can't achieve very nearly 100%. And if we have 100%, and this is another argument to make to them, we are exceptional. We're the top dog in the whole state, maybe the world, if we can do that. And everyone will be, in awe. They'll admire us for our efforts and the result of our efforts. And I hope you guys can find a way to reach every single man, woman, and child who is, capable of being vaccinated and vaccinate that person. It will be a statement about Hawaii. It already is. Sheryl, we're almost out of time, so it's time for you to dig deep, maybe call on Chivon a little bit and summarize this and connect it up.
Well, I don't know, Chivon, if you have anything to say before I wrap it up.
Nope, I think it was all well said.
So again, Jay, thank you so much. The Hawaii Restaurant Association really appreciates this time. This is an important message, Jay, and we all want to get back to our normal lifestyle. And the Hawaii Restaurant Association, who is the voice of Hawaii's restaurants and food service industry, is doing everything we can to support this important initiative. And like you said, it's only going to better the whole state. So thank you, Jay, for this time.
And thank you, Brooks. It's a great case you make and a great thing you're doing. Good for the Department of Health. And Patrick, thank you very much for putting these programs together. And I'm sure they will work in the way that these things work with human nature as we know it today. The other thing I just want to say is that, getting vaccinated, reaching what we can argue is herd immunity or better, will really assure the reopening of our business and our economy and our restaurants. So it strikes me that we could get our economy back on track if what you want to do is actually successful. Thank you so much. We'll be looking at the stats, and I'll be putting my application in for the $1,000 drawing. Okay.
Do it today.
I'm sending him the link.
Thank you, everybody. Aloha.